They've got heat. They've got water. They've got food. They've got 2 dogs. And I'm over here, dude. My balls have shrunk. My balls have shrunk to like marble size. I can't even see my penis anymore. And my nipples feel harder than my fucking nails. Action, dude. Another solo episode. First one in a couple of weeks. I had my buddy Reddy Mombili on spontaneously. And it feels like it's been like a month since I last did a podcast. But maybe it's because of all the bullshit that's been going on in Austin. Where are we, man? What day of the week is it? It's almost the end of February. And by the time you hear this, it'll be the end of February and it'll be the start of March. And when is the daylight savings coming back? Because I can't fucking wait. March 14th, dude, daylight savings begins. That's like when, what's a good, it's almost like when you, I don't know, dude. It's like when you fucking finally get the TV to work, It's like everybody's like fucking slapping the TV, like one of those old TVs with an antenna where you can kind of see the game. And everybody's slapping it, and daylight savings is like when you finally stabilize it and you finally get a clear picture. Speaking of TVs, I just recently learned that you know how those TVs, those like round TVs used to be made of like the image was, the reason you could see an image was because there were 3 pixels. I think it was like red, green, and yellow, or red, green, and blue, or something like that. And apparently the element or the resource, whatever it was that they used to create the red, when people discovered that they could do that, they also knew the resource they needed to use for the red was a very limited resource. And so they stopped making TVs that way because they were like, oh, this is not a good idea. The reason I heard about that was just this whole Clubhouse podcast about what's the word? So sustainability. And how a lot of people that say, or a lot of people that are like pro sustainability, or that are really sustainability advocates or whatever, that they were arguing, the people on the podcast, that it was it's kind of like another, not a scam, because those people kind of believe what they're saying, but that a lot of that isn't true if you look at it based in science. I thought it was fascinating, man. And I'm just a fucking idiot, right? So I don't know what's true and what's not, but hearing them talk about it was fascinating, because they were saying, like, we don't have limited resources. Like, yes, we have some resources, like individual resources that are limited, like the element or whatever it was that they used for the color of red. But we have always found a use for something that in the past we thought was obsolete. And they mentioned, I forget what the name of the rock was. I should probably write these things down, right? But there was some rock in like fucking New Zealand or something that for years and years we thought was obsolete, and it was just a fucking like decoration, right? God's decoration. And then as soon as we started to develop the idea of nuclear energy, we took that same rock and we realized, oh shit, this resource helps us create nuclear energy. So all of a sudden we have a use for that we didn't know we would. And so it's kind of going along those lines. But my favorite thing that they said, this sort of just a way to look at things. I think they call it like a mental model, is if you see the world through a problem-oriented lens, that you don't really understand the world, because we've always found solutions, is basically what they're saying. And I don't know, dude. I just thought that was fucking amazing, right? Because anytime that somebody tells me, like, oh, fucking, like, if you eat meat, like that's not a sustainable way of living for everyone. That's a problem. And it's, generally, dude, like those people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I'm not saying there isn't somebody who's making that argument who claims to know, like really, really know what he's talking about. But the people that have told me that, dude, those are like, like my friends, dude. And if there's anything I know about my friends, is that they do just as little research as I do. So, we're both stuck in the same boat. The difference is I don't feel like I see the only problems that I see are like my own fucking shit. Whenever I think like, oh, dude, this is a problem, it's like it's something to do with me. It's never like, oh, I didn't get the job, that means that like jobs are scarce and I'm gonna go protest, like, or like we should protect jobs, like it's always something to do with me, man. It's always like, fuck, dude, I didn't get the job, all right, dude, there'll be another one. Like, what can I do to prepare myself better next time? And so I don't know, even the shit about myself, you could apply that same model to yourself. If you look at yourself and you're like, fuck, dude, I'm great example. I'll talk about myself. If I walk into a room and there are 80 people and I know 2 of them and I'm seeing the rest of them for the first time, I get very like in my head, and I don't know what to do, and so I always used to look at that as a problem, because I didn't really understand what the fuck was happening. So I was just like, this is a problem. I need to fucking, this can't happen anymore, And once you sit down and you try to actually understand why is this a problem? Like, not like why is it a problem, but like why is it a problem? you know? Like why is the problem there to begin with? And what you learn, at least what I learned about myself, was like, oh, I'm just really afraid of being rejected. And so it's a lot easier for my fucking ego or my psyche or whatever you want to call it to just go internal and just fucking start telling stories about the people around me. Oh, I'm not going to talk to that asshole. Oh, that fucking loser, Oh, that bitch, like all these and just make up all these stories, because then I don't have to risk being rejected. I can reject myself, dude. I can reject everyone else. And once you understand that, then it's like, oh, this isn't a problem. This is a wound. This is something from the past, you know? Because in the past, sure, I had a really good reason to be afraid of being rejected, because the people that were rejecting me were the people that were feeding me and putting fucking the bed sheets over my nipples to keep me warm. But now, if I get rejected by a stranger at a social event, A, there's 77 more strangers that I could talk to. B, there's my two close people that I could talk to. And C, nothing's going to happen. And so it's not a problem. It's not a problem. So yeah, I don't know, man. It was one of those podcasts and one of those conversations where where it's just where you hear something that you'd never thought about before, or you never looked at it that way before. And I don't know, it's not, there's a lot of that to go around, it's just, sometimes it's hard to find, sometimes it's hard to find shit that isn't just regurgitating what a book from 5 years ago said, which was regurgitating what another book from 10 years ago said, which was regurgitating, fucking the Bible or whatever. But yeah, man. So I've been paying more attention to, at least in the last few days, because this was like a week ago, but I've just been paying more attention to people when somebody tells me like this is a problem, and using that to sort of understand them better, as in, oh, they don't actually know what they're talking about, so I don't need to accept this as truth. I can do my own research. And dude, I didn't jam my finger. I don't think that you'll be able to see this. Nah, you can't pick it up on the fucking, I look like a fucking bitch, dude. I'm like, look at what I did to my nail. But no, dude, I was at work today. Dude, it just hurts to think about it. I did this fucking motion, like down, but like really fast. Almost like when you fucking like, I don't know when you do that. But I was trying to flick something off of my hand. So it was a really quick jerk. And my finger, dude, it fucking smashed against, I smashed my own finger against like a metal refrigerator. Ooh. And now I can't put any pressure on it, because it's like right at the tip of my nail, right underneath my nail, at the tip of my finger is a pool of dried blood from like a popped blood vessel. Fuck, dude. Fucking A. My legs are shaking now. So that happened today. And that fucking sucked, man. That fucking sucked, right? Because I type with my index finger, and I fucking, like, anytime something happens to my right hand or my right foot, I'm fucked. And it almost forces me to be more mindful of everything. I get in the shower, dude, and I have to hold my hand out. Like one of the accidents I had on my bicycle where I rash burn or whatever the fuck it's called, where you like slide against gravel. I had to stick my right hand out of the shower for the first like 5 days. I mean, I didn't have to, but I chose to because it stung. And so I would just shower with my fucking left hand, which I don't know how to do. And I'm just like a fucking monkey, dude, learning how to use soap for the first time. And and you don't really realize it, and you don't realize how dependent you are on one side of your body until you lose the ability to use it momentarily. Like my left foot, dude, my left fucking foot, there's something in like there's something, dude, I'm gonna show you, dude. There's something in the fucking, like right there, dude. There's something in that part of my left foot that ever since I played tennis with fucking Ricky, dude, it comes and goes, it comes and goes. It's just this like muscular pain or like bone pain. I don't know what the difference is. And whenever I work out, and I'm doing like a standing sit-ups or something, I think that's what they're called, where you're just going up on your tippy toes, dude. I just said tippy toes. Am I 8 years old? But when you're standing on your tiptoes, and all of a sudden I can't do it because when I do that on my left foot, it fucking hurts, dude. It hurts. And now I'm limping, and then and at the same time, I'm aware because I read this book called The Celestine Prophecy. I think it was the second one, actually. It's like the 11th or the 10th Insight or something like that. It's the second in the Celestine Prophecy series. And there's a point where the protagonist is like, he gets injured in the fucking jungle in Colombia or something, and a woman shows up out of the blue, and she's a nurse. And she says, it doesn't look like you have any damage to your foot. You should think about a time in your life where you used an injury to get out of a situation because your body remembers that and it's bringing it up right now. And I'm just like, dude, is that what's happening to me right now? Because I did used to do that. When I was in fucking, dude, when I was in fourth and fifth grade, this is how fucking desperate for attention I was in fourth and fifth grade, is that my girlfriend had broken up with me. My first love. Her mom had told her, you got to wait until sixth grade. You can't date this Nick guy. You got to wait until sixth grade. And we'd been dating for like 9 months already. And her mom knew, but it was an all out of the blue thing where she was like, you can't be dating so early. And we didn't even fucking talk. But it was bullshit that her mom did that, but whatever. I've moved past it. I've moved past it. But so we broke up, and then I was devastated. Devastated, dude. And I hadn't told anyone in my family that she was my girlfriend. So when we broke up, I was just like, oh, now the world has ended and I need to hide it from my family. So I'm just miserable, dude, right? And I go home one evening from school. I lock myself in my room. I go on the computer and I'm on Messenger, MSN, live chat. And fucking circa like 2006, dude. And I go on there and I see that my ex, dude, she changed her status from like, I love you, Nick, heart, fucking eyes, heart emojis, to just like available, like not like I'm back on the market, but just like online. Just her name and like online. And I was like, fuck, dude. I was crushed, right? And so what I did was, in my brain at the time, I was like, I am depressed and I want her to know, but it's never going to be a possibility in my head to tell her how I feel. So how can I make her know how I feel without telling her, right? That was my fucking thought process. And everyone else in the process of doing that, let everyone else know that I'm sad as fuck too, so that somebody will show me love or somebody will show me attention. So I pull out my paint kit. Dude, and I think I had to ask somebody in my I think I had to ask my dad to buy me like gauze or like a little like the thing that you roll around your fucking injury. And he was like, why do you need gauze? And I was just like, oh, it's for an art project. And because my dad didn't live at the house, so he wasn't going to see what the fuck I was going to use the gauze for, right? But he gets me the gauze, and I'll have gauze, and and I fucking I take out my art kit. I start mixing paint, and what I do is that I create this like dark red, and I put the paintbrush in there, and then I start painting my knee, just a little like circle like this big, just a little like this big circle, like an eyeball sized dark red on the front of my knee, and then I wrap the gauze around my knee, and then I paint another little red eyeball sized over the gauze, right? So that people will look at my knee and be like, holy shit, dude, that's badass. Like the blood seeped through. I was trying to create the appearance that blood seeped through from my wound over the gauze and was now being displayed fresh blood. A fresh wound, dude. I created a wound in my body, and I would limp, dude. I would fucking limp. And it worked. People. I rolled up to school, and I hid it. I hid it from my family. I don't remember how, because we wore shorts. Or maybe I lied to them and I told them that I had hurt myself. But I remember that I picked up the limp as soon as I got out of the car, and I started walking into school. And people were looking at me and like, and people were start coming up to me and saying like, "Oh my God, what happened to your knee?" And I don't remember what I told them, right? Oh, I fell, or oh, I fucking shredded my knee somehow. But now all of a sudden, everyone was paying attention to me, and it worked. And the next day, dude, it's so embarrassing that I did this, because I think that like I put fresh paint on it after school so that the next day it would still look the same. And dude, I think at one point I put like I think I did it like on this part of my arm, on my elbow. I did the same thing but on my elbow. So now I had two fucking wounds at the same time. And I'm just walking around school like a sociopath. And people are saying, "Oh my God, what happened to you? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine." I'm like pretending that I'm not fucking loving it, dude. Not loving it, but that I'm not like feeling like, "Oh, finally somebody cares about me." And every day, dude, I would go home and I would fucking put fresh paint on my wound and fucking and just look forward to what were people going to ask me the next day, and what had I told them had happened, so that I could keep my story straight. Uh that's crazy, man. That's so crazy. But so yeah, dude, I don't know if something happened in my life where I feel maybe like I need some kind of attention, or like I'm not getting enough attention, or I'm neglecting myself in some way. And so my body is remembering that, and it's like, "Oh dude, let's create a feeling in his foot of an injury so that he will know to limp, and then people will ask him how he's doing." It's fucking wild, man. But the mind and the body really work that way. Um and it's crazy to me that we don't talk about that, because there's probably so many people that think they're injured and really it's some trauma from their childhood. Um speaking of not really speaking of this, but the snowstorm, man, the snowstorm in Austin was about like a week and a half ago now. It's the 27th today. So about 2 weeks ago is when it started. And boy, dude, did that shit catch me off guard. You know, it caught everyone off guard. But there's a difference between like, you know, being with like your partner or being with your family or living with your friends versus living in an apartment with your brother that he's not at 5 days a week. And fucking dude, Sunday night is when the storm rolled in, you know, and I was having a hard time going to sleep. And like 1 a.m, I get out of bed and I fucking walk out to the living room and I look out the window. I turn the blinds so that they'll open, and I just see fucking Russia outside of my apartment, and just like, you know, like this thing that genuinely felt like I was in awe of what I was seeing, and I was also terrified. Before the lights went out, before fucking everything happened, just watching the storm and knowing where I live, I was like, dude, this is like majestic, but at the same time, this is like kind of like a fucking hurricane, dude. Like the winds were like, you know, blowing shit out of people's yards, and I just remember I was watching it, and I made a couple videos because I couldn't go to sleep out in the snow, you know, just playing around. And I just remember thinking like, oh man, just like, I don't need to prepare at all. Just like a fucking dumb numbnuts, dude. And then I wake up shivering. I go to bed with the heat on, right? Because it's like 9 degrees outside. So I go to bed with the heat on at 72. I wake up shivering in my bed, shivering and sweating at the same time. And I get out of bed and I'm just like, why is it so cold? My brother's not home. He didn't turn the fucking heat off. I get out of bed, dude, and I go for the light, and the light's not turning on. And I'm just like, I go outside and I look at the thermometer and it says like 58 degrees. Inside of the apartment, it's 58 degrees. And I'm just like, what is happening? You know, just fucking. And I went to bed at 3 and I wake up and it's like 7:30. So I'm also sleep deprived. The lights went out. The heat is off. I'm shivering still. I look outside and all I see is white. I look outside, I don't see grass, I don't see trees, I don't see cars, I don't see the street. All I see, dude, is white. The sky is white and the everything else is white. And there's just this moment, right? There was this moment when you find out, but before it hits you, what that means, right? Oh, that's beautiful snow. Oh yeah, shit. And you're still like fucking shivering, and you're like, oh shit, and you look and you're like, oh, that's a lot of snow. Those roads don't look drivable. Oh, the power's out. Oh man, it's cold in here. And then you go to the kitchen and you open the refrigerator and the lights off in the refrigerator, and you're like, oh shit. That's right. The refrigerator uses electricity too. But you don't make anything of it. So you go and you turn on the faucet. There's water and it's hot, and you're like, oh, all right. The light will probably come back on. And you take a hot shower, and then you come out of the shower and you go to make yourself breakfast, and you open the refrigerator a second time and the lights are off, but now you're more awake and you're like, fuck. And that's when it hits you. All of the food that I have needs to be refrigerated, and all of it needs electricity to be cooked. And so it starts to hit me, right? I'm like, Oh, I can't make eggs. I can't cook meat. I can't cook my chicken. I can't I can't heat up oatmeal. I can't fucking I don't have bread. I don't have what I had what I had that I could eat without electricity was tostadas, like just plain tostadas, like a quarter pint of almond butter and frozen bananas that were thawing out because there was no electricity to keep my freezer cold. And I was just like, all right. And so I kind of make some makeshift breakfast with those three items. Doesn't really satisfy me, but I'm like, all right, I chewed for 15 minutes. I'm done with this, right? And then I just started thinking, like, what am I gonna do? I don't have food. I don't have power. I don't have internet. My phone barely has a signal. And my brother texts me. He's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't have power. I don't have internet. I don't have. I don't. I'm cold." And I'm like, "How are you?" He's like, "Oh, I've got light. I've got electricity. I've got water. I've got everything." I'm just like, "Of course, dude. Of course." In the words of my fucking father, the lesson is going to be harder on you than it is on your older brother. And it seems like that's a continuous fucking narrative in my life. And I'm only joking. I'm happy that my brother didn't have to suffer, and I'm happy that my brother generally doesn't have to suffer. Uh, at least as much as I have at this point. But at the same time, dude, I'm like, when is this motherfucker gonna get a little bitch slap in the face by Mother Nature? And when is Roberto gonna be put to the test? He's at his girlfriend's apartment. They've got heat, they've got water, they've got food, they've got two dogs. And I'm over here, dude. My balls have shrunk. My balls have shrunk to like marble size. I can't even see my penis anymore. And my nipples feel harder than my fucking nails. Uh and I'm wearing like thermal gear. But I'm shivering. I'm shivering, dude. And I'm thinking, I don't have food. What am I gonna do? And 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 so I think I went out for a walk that day. I was like, all right, dude, I've got to figure some shit out. I've got to figure some shit out. So I went for a walk. And I don't, mind you, I don't have snowshoes. I went out with sneakers. And I didn't even have plastic bags to put over my sneakers. So my feet are frozen within 5 minutes of leaving the house. And I walk for an hour and a half. I walk about a mile and a half in an hour and a half. You do the math. Because it's fucking slippery, it's cold, and people are out and about like doing the same thing I'm doing, looking for a way to feed themselves. And I pass the Apple Mart, it's closed. I pass the gas station stores, they're closed. I go to HEB, it's closed. I go to fucking McDonald's, it's closed. All by foot. Burger King, Popeyes, all closed. I get to the fucking Walgreens, closed. CVS, closed. Everything is shut down, dude. And now I've wasted an hour and a half of energy, plus the hour and a half to get back, right? So 3 hours of energy that I wasted. And I get home, dude, I still don't have food. So I eat more tostadas and more frozen fucking brown rotten bananas with almond butter. And I pretend that I'm fucking Gandhi, dude. Like, oh, I'll be okay. I can not eat for however long I need to, right? Like some fucking bullshit rationalization, right? To not ask for help. And my brother's like, dude, you want to come here? Like, we can try to go rescue you in the fucking Prius. And I'm like, are you sure that's a good idea? Like, I've seen the roads. So we decide, like, not going to happen tonight. He says, you could walk here. And on day one, I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. I can walk there, dude. I just walked for 3 hours, a mile and a half. You're 4.1 miles away. You think I'm going to walk there, dude? You got another thing coming, right? And so that night, I sleep in my brother's room because he always complains that it's too hot in our apartment. I'm always cold. He's always warm. So I'm like, all right, his fucking bedroom must be warmer than mine. And it checks out, right? Sleeping in his bed with no heat, no power. I did not struggle, man. It was a fucking warmest night I've ever slept in my life. And I wake up with a headache and a crick in my neck. And I'm fucking like, I'm over it. I'm over it, dude. And it's only day 1.5. But I look up on my phone, right? It takes me like a half hour to get on HEB's website and see that it looks like they're going to be open today. And it looks like the buses are going to be running today. So I hop on my fucking snow gear, my makeshift snow gear, and I go for another walk. But this time, I have told my brother, like, hey, I'm going to go stay with you guys if I don't find food, right? So I prepare my backpack as if I'm going to go to their place right now, just in case, right? And what do I find out when I leave my apartment, dude? 3 guys are walking past me and they're like, hey, bro, you're going to the HEB? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, it's closed. And I'm like, oh, no, I know. They're opening in a half hour at noon. And he's like, no. They're just closed. And thank you. And I cross them and I keep walking toward the HEB, like maybe they're wrong, right? And my brother texts me at that moment and he says, all cap metro buses are canceled for today. And I'm like, fucking, oh, great. Now I'm going to walk 4 miles in the snow. And dude, luckily the sun was out. And the thing about the sun being out when the ground is covered in snow is that it just bounces off. And it's almost like it's penetrating more than the sun normally penetrates. So it got to the point where I was like in a hoodie just walking down the street, and like I trekked, dude, 4.1 miles up hills, down hills. I walked on the road with cars. People were driving, dude. People were looking at their phones. People are so fucking in a need to escape their daily pain of existence that even when it's recommended you don't even drive, they're on the road, dude. And they're just like fucking like, and and you see other cars like sliding in the snow, but they're riding fucking 5 feet away from the car in front of them. And they're just like thinking that their brakes are going to work the same way. And I'm like, dude, somebody needs to fucking, those people just need to get checked, dude. Those people just need to get checked. And I'm walking on the road like, oh, they won't fucking spin off and run me over. And I finally get there, dude. And once I get there, it's fucking warm. There's food. There's 2 dogs. Like they don't know what the fuck is happening. They're just happy to lick my fucking marble balls and warm me up. And so I get there, and it was just like, all right. I had shelter. But it's crazy, man. It's crazy. If I hadn't have had that option, if I just had to stay, because the power didn't come back on until Thursday. Thursday around noon is when the power came back at my apartment. And they cut the water off, I think, on like Tuesday. So if I had stayed here, they would have cut the water off, dude. And I wouldn't have had water or power. So no way to heat water up. I can't start a fire in my apartment. Are you fucking insane, dude? I tried to start a fire in my patio, and I don't have firewood, dude. All the wood is underneath snow. And if I want to find wood, I need to walk a mile into the forest and and fucking take a rucksack with me to bring it back, you know? So I just grabbed like blank sheets of paper, right? Lettered paper. And I'm like, oh, this will work. I put it in a tin pan, 3 sheets of paper. I light a match. It starts burning. They burn in 3 seconds. And I'm like, oh, now I just smell like smoke. You know, fucking, it was so dumb, man. It just showed me how vulnerable I am to Mother Nature and how I think vulnerable we all are. But yeah, people didn't have the option that I did. Like thousands of people didn't have the option to go somewhere warm. I mean, you could go to like one of the warm shelters or whatever, like at the fucking Palmer Event Center, right? But then who wants to be there, dude? What are you gonna prop up a sleeping bag in the middle of a fucking assembly room next to 5,000 other miserable people, and you know, and do what, man? Contract COVID? I wonder if they had, they probably did, but I wonder if you had shown up to that thing. They probably had masks there, but assuming they didn't, right? I wonder if you show up to the Palmer Event Center during the snowstorm and you're like fucking like with your 2 kids, you're all shivering and you're like, oh, can we come in? And they're like, you have a mask? And you're like, fucking like, you can't even speak. No mask, no entry. And they just send you on your way, dude, to your death. Yeah, man. Because I'm not gonna fucking. I would rather freeze to death than be stuck in a fucking event center with a mask on 24/7 and on a sleeping bag, dude. Just because it's a little bit warmer in there, right? You don't know what they're gonna have the temperature at, right? They might have it at. They were asking everybody to conserve energy. You think the Palmer Event Center isn't going to conserve energy, dude? They're going to have that heater on at like fucking 65. You're still going to be freezing your balls off. Only now you're going to be surrounded by fucking, you know, homeless people and angry people. And everybody's going to be looking at their phone, looking at each other like, nah. You see ERCOT? They're asking people to conserve energy now. These fucks don't know what they're doing. We demand that they defund ERCOT. Defund ERCOT. You know, this fucking people are so annoying, man. People are so annoying when they're angry. And at the same time, that's a perfect way of bringing it back to my original point about people not understanding shit. You know? Oh, dude, do you know how the energy works? Do you know how when you flick the switch in your house, there's light? Do you know how that happens, dude? Like scientific, can you explain to me the conduit that is taking energy from fucking a windmill in Plano, Texas into your fucking $900 a month studio apartment? Can you explain that to me, dude? If you can't, then please shut the fuck up. You know, like people just want somebody to be upset at is all it is like, you know, there was a warning about the snow. There was a warning, man. People were going to Whole Foods. People were fucking you know, like if you do your research, if you weren't being fed so much nonsense about COVID and about fucking Joe Biden and about Donald Trump's impeachment. Oh, fuck, he led the Capitol Hill rise. He needs to be impeached, and then I'm gonna be happy. You know, if you weren't being fucking mind controlled like that, maybe you would have had the foresight to prepare. Right? I didn't, but it was because I'm a fucking lazy guy that just believes that like nothing's gonna happen to him, right? And so I'm dumb for other reasons. But it's just like, dude, you just need somebody to be upset at because truly you're fucking angry at yourself for not preparing, for not being prepared, and for not having a community of people that maybe are prepared that could help you, right? It's like if you've spent the last 5 years of your life just playing video games and not talking to anyone and not ever greeting your neighbors and not ever making friends at work and just go from point A to point B, make money, pay the rent, eat food, go on date, eat food more, eat drink, go on another date. You know, if you're just like fucking, if your mind is just turned off, man, then you know, you kind of had it coming. As did I, right? For my own issues, I had it coming, man. And if I hadn't had somewhere to go, I would have had a harder lesson. I would be a little bit more gaunt on today's podcast. Um, but yeah, man. And then when I get to the reason I know that this is true is because once I found a solution, I created another problem, right? I was like, this is uncomfortable. I was sleeping on an air mattress in my brother's girlfriend's living room, and they didn't have any privacy. I didn't have any privacy. And so it's just like, I felt like I was in the way, right? And now I create a problem in my head so that I have something to focus on. Because what else am I going to fucking do with no internet and fucking, you know, nothing, dude. Like watch a movie, dude? No, fucking boring, man. But yeah, man, I don't know. I was here, and it was wild. Anybody that tells you like, oh, Texans are fucking pussies, it's like, man, if you'd have been here, man, you would have been a fucking pussy too. You know, if you'd have been here, you would have been a fucking pussy too, man. You know, if you'd have been here, man, you would have been a fucking pussy too, man. Like, dude, even Tim Kennedy, who has like his compound where he has everything, every possible scenario. Even he had to get like a fucking friend of his that was a plumber to come help him repair some faucets or something. So even someone like that had problems during this, and I can't even imagine, right? The homeless people, dude, that was so depressing. That was so fucking depressing. I mean, I'm sure they're kind of used to like freezing their ass off because Austin gets like 9 to 5 degree temperatures pretty much yearly, but not with snow. But they were just intense, dude. And you could barely see their tents. Like I said, it was all white. And once that shit starts melting, I'm sure that fucking soaked. If I'd been in the same situation I was during this, but outside, I would have walked in front of a car, dude. I would have walked in front of a moving vehicle, and hope that I survive so that I'm in the hospital where it's warm, and then just rack up $20,000 in hospital bills and live a miserable life, or jump off a bridge. You know, yes, that got dark real quick, but I'm sure somebody's experience of the snowstorm was that dark. There was a grandmother and 2 kids who died of exhaust fumes, I think. Or no, actually, they burned their house down because they were trying to start a fire, dude. So there was some pretty gruesome fucking dark moments in this snowstorm for those that were a little less fortunate than us. And yeah, now it's just back to business. Right now, everybody's honking. Everybody's like, fucking, get out of my way, dude. I gotta fucking go to the Cidercade and play fucking Pac-Man. You know, like, I'm 5 minutes late to fucking the hockey game in Round Rock. Just like everybody fucking forgets real quick. Everybody forgets real quick, man. That's going to be the podcast. I think that is going to be the podcast I have a roach infestation in my house, tiny roaches, so it doesn't feel as gross or life-threatening, but still fucking disgusting to walk in your kitchen and see 6 tiny roaches walking around your counters. It's like those shoot 'em up games at the arcades, right? Now I gotta fucking, it's instead of just one big monster that I can direct all my energy at, I'm like fucking like psst, psst, trying to get like 6 different creatures before they all hide, right? And they're fucking, it's in their nature to hide, to survive. So but yeah, man, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Feels good to be back. I am going back to the Mondays all the time, even when I have guests on, because then it gives me a little bit of a break when I do have a guest, and that feels really good. So thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, subscribe, like, do whatever the fuck you want. And if you like, if you want more like self-healing and like trauma and writing kind of lessons and tools and information, I have a newsletter at sendfox.com/NIKOAGF. That's sendfox.com/NIKOAGF. It goes out once a week, most weeks, and you can unsubscribe anytime, man. This has been the Pupils Life Podcast. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week.